and a very good afternoon from myself, Nirvana Lange, and I'm representing Body and Mind, the Body and Mind Health and Wellness Directory. And I'm speaking today to Peter Stutz, and he is EMFREE specialist.
Well, let's say I'm a consultant with doing EMF mitigation, and hence the company name EMFREE. So EMF as for electromagnetic fields, free thereof. Hopefully we will be one day.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our hope. So great, Peter. So tell me a little bit about your journey in like about 2 minutes, and what led up to you learning about EMFREE.
Right, Nirvana. So it started probably about 8 years ago. I have to say, first of all, that I'm a technologist. So I've got a Master of Science in Computer Science. I was probably one of the first in South Africa to have an Apple TV wirelessly, the things that my company, which was a Canadian company, provided. But so very much from a technical engineering type background. The journey really started in 2011, it was, where my wife got diagnosed with cancer. And she, being a microbiologist, a doctorate, very sort of inquisitive mind, and she started doing a whole lot of research to see whether she can help herself or how she can help herself on top of you know, the little bit of tidbits that were offered by the traditional medicine, which didn't really gel with her too well. And one of the things that came up over and over was the effects, or the health effects of, whether it's on cancer, whether it's just on ill health and, you know, the immune system. So she gave me those kind of papers to look at, and my initial response in a typical engineering manner was, but, you know, first of all, the stuff is being used everywhere. The industry tells us it's safe. There's safety standards, so there cannot be an issue with this.
Yeah.
However, I then obviously needed to do it a little bit justice and started looking into that a little bit more deeper. And wow, did my eyes open up. I think the challenge really is that, and was at that stage as well, is that most of the sort of comments that come from the electrical engineering type society saying it's safe come from an environment where they're really looking at a non-ionizing type environment, which basically means it doesn't, the technology is there, it doesn't heat up cells. Okay. The other side of the coin is that there haven't really been any studies, and in those days, to prove that it's safe from a biological perspective. And that's where all the sort of scientists were coming into the realm and saying, but guys, you haven't really investigated this properly. There is not just a non-thermal effect, but there is a biological effect. So that's really where it started. So having been very intrigued and being of the technical nature, I sourced a couple of EMF meters from overseas. Nothing existed like this in South Africa in those days. And then started playing around with it, just to understanding it a little bit better, and then assisting family, friends, just to, let's call it, clean up their homes and to live healthier and safer.
Fantastic.
Then wind the clock forward a couple of years. My wife's sort of dream was to open up a holistic healing center for people with any kind of ailments to get better and to really boost the immune systems. And that's where I come in and assist on the EMF side, because that is a very strong component in assisting the immune system and stabilizing it, because especially when you have people that are compromised from a health point of view, you know, you want to get away as many toxic environments as possible, whether it's just an environmental thing, whether it's a radiation thing. Yeah, so I then basically formed my company, EMFREE, and I do home assessments, I do public talks, and just generally raise the awareness of safer options of using this kind of technology.
And Peter, now there's obviously so much talk at the moment of 5G, the 60 gigahertz, and what that's doing to us, the environment. What can you tell us? And during this lockdown period, there's so much happening and saying that people are putting up 5G towers. What is your opinion to this, and what do you think the real effects are of the 60 gigahertz to us, to our biology?
So it's hard to tell. First of all, if you take the clock and you take 5G out of the equation, there are numerous studies on the older technologies, whether it's 2G, 3G, 4G, that show a biological effect. So, there are thousands and thousands of studies out there that are being pretty much ignored by the telco industry. They keep the standards the same. They don't lower the actual thresholds. So it's been pretty much shown that there is an effect. By introducing a newer spectrum, and 5G is actually a combination of multiple spectrums at lower frequencies, going up to sort of 5-6 gigahertz, and then another spectrum above 20 gigahertz, going up to potentially 80, depending on where it is. So, there just aren't any studies out there enough to prove or disprove whether that's safe.
Yeah,
So a lot of the people, and I don't know if you were aware, I think it was late January, there was a worldwide protest against 5G, and we actually were in Greenpoints.
that's right.
There must have been MDs that understand the health effects, and basically saying, guys, we need a moratorium, we need to use and apply the precautionary measure in order for the industry to really prove that it's safe. Because the concept of technological advancement is great, and then there's a lot of productivity gains to be had from technologies like that, but not at the expense of ill health. And I think that's the biggest concern of the scientists and now the general population, to say, okay, first of all, do we really need driverless cars? Do we really need to download a movie in 30 seconds instead of 3 minutes?
Yeah.
At the expense of the health? Yeah, I think then, as to your comment about the towers and things being rolled out, I do see reports from all over the world of these kind of happenings. So it seems to be right. It's very difficult to verify. Seeing just about half the initially the spectrum is going to be at a lower level.
And I was actually going to make a joke and said, yeah, well, where's the 5G now so that we can have a better connection? I was going to, this is the thing. If we, we want to download things in 30 seconds, and we want to be able to have video calls that are running smoothly, but certainly not pay for it with our health. About initially rolling out at a lower frequency.
Yeah, so it's actually pretty much a 5G technology. It looks at multiple bands of frequencies, and then there's a lower band, which is up to those sort of 5-6 gigahertz, and then what your millimeter waves are now, then go beyond 20 gigahertz and up. So that's pretty much the two bands that are required. Now, typically, initially, what we're hearing and seeing is that the common deployment, or the most common deployments initially, are going to be at the lower frequency range. And if you look at the CASA paper that was published late last year, open for comment, they were opening up spectrum for up to, I think it was 3.6 gigahertz. However, I think this is now changed, where I haven't actually had enough time to look at the details of what was published, I think, last week, where they're basically saying they're going to open up more spectrum because of the crisis, because of communication links and those sort of things. So
Yeah.
I think the bottom line is, you know, whether you're talking about frequency ranges up to 3 or 5 or 6 gigahertz, there have been papers that actually, and scientific studies that show ill health effects on that. Lesser so on the millimeter waves, because, you know, it's not something that we've been exposed to so much. The bottom line is that there is just no evidence out there that actually shows that you know, that these technologies are safe.
Yeah. And so in our last couple of minutes, if you don't mind, Peter, if you can tell us, you know, so all of this is out there. We are cooped up in our houses, not able to go to the ocean, which is really that negative, you know, electrons, whatever you call them, I forget the word, that you can get from the ocean, or walking into nature, or just, you know, being able to socialize, which also helps with our
Absolutely.
health and
Absolutely.
well-being. So what can you suggest as a person who's an expert in EMFREE, to do while we are, some people can't go into their garden. I can go into my garden, you can go into your garden. I take it, you know, they might be able to open a window, maybe not. What can people do in a
Yeah.
nutshell?
So if you do have the capability or the ability to go into your garden, grounding is probably one of the best you could do to yourself. And take off your shoes, stand with your feet in the grass, and just literally get connected to earth. That is a very simple thing to do if you can.
Mm,
Inside the homes, and I think the danger at the moment is that while we're being cooped up, people start watching movies, they start communicating on their mobile phones, they potentially have Wi-Fi set up in their houses. Now, those are the things that we try to educate people to use as little as possible, and where you can, connect your devices via cable. Okay, it's a bit difficult now because obviously you can't go out and shop for the adapters and the cables and those sort of things. So really the main recommendation would be use the stuff sparingly. If you use your mobile phone for normal 3G calls, use a headset or at least a speaker. Don't put it against your head, against your ear, or close onto your body. Then the other thing is, at night, when you do go to sleep, just switch your Wi-Fi off. There's no need for it to be blaring in your room, in your office, all night long. So those are very, very simple things that you can do, and really eliminate the wireless technology as much as you can, because it does have a cumulative effect. And, you know, as you say, if we are being cooped up in that room 24/7, which with this radiation going at us, it will deplete our immune systems. And this is the time where we actually need our body to function really well, and we need to strengthen our immune system, not weaken it, so
yeah.
that, you know, so that the body can actually go and do the fights that it needs to do against the viruses and the bacteria that you know, we potentially are exposed to.
Yeah, and rebuilding ourselves. And I mean, you know, if something is really that important, people can call each other if it's in the middle of the night, and you certainly don't need to be connected to your WhatsApp or your social media. And, you know,
Absolutely.
there is a way of getting hold of you if there is an emergency. And you can't go anywhere anyway if there's an emergency. It's really just, well, this has happened, or whatever the case may be. So the best is switch off and wait until you're awake, and at least, you know, get some air, fresh air, if it's opening the window or
Yeah,
going out in your garden, and then maybe switch on your Wi-Fi. But it is such an integral part. It's like people waking up and the first thing they want is, you know, the bladder takes them to the toilet. It's
yeah,
as integral is the phone. Let me just check my phone. It's so you know, part of the new human
yeah.
habit. Yeah,
Absolutely. It is an addictive technology. So, you know,
yeah,
again, in summary, switch off Wi-Fi, switch off wireless as much as you can. If you need to keep your phone on at night, do keep it on at night. But if possible, even put it in a room next door. Don't have it in right next to your head on the bedside table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So
And
really, this is a time where we need to recover as much as we can.
if there's people who would like to chat to you more about this and understanding what this frequency can do to us and how to protect ourselves, how can people get hold of you?
So my email is pete@emfree.co.za. I also have a webpage called emfree.co.za. That's probably the best ways. And on there are all the contact details to be able to chat. Obviously, I can't go out at the moment and do any assessments, but I certainly can talk people through certain scenarios of what they potentially could do in the homes, just to live a little bit less radiation free.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Pete. And if you've missed any of that, please look at our links below, and you can contact Peter at our Body and Mind website, which is www.bodyandmind.co.za. You can also download the Body and Mind Health and Wellness Directory app in your Apple as well as in your Play Store, and do that and then switch off afterwards after you've contacted Peter, and you can get hold of him that way. And thank you very much, Peter, and a few interruptions, but we've got through it.
Super. Thank you, Nirvana, and stay healthy and safe.
Yeah, you
and
too.
EM free.
And EM free. Thank you for the chat, and thank you for your patience as well.
Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers. Okay, bye-bye. Bye.